The old mansion had stood abandoned for decades, shrouded in local legends of tragedy and despair. Julia, an adventurous photographer, couldn't resist the lure of its decaying beauty. Armed with her camera and a heart full of curiosity, she ventured inside on a moonless night. The air inside was thick with musty decay, and every creak echoed through the empty halls like whispers of the past. As Julia explored, she noticed peculiar details. A child's toy left on a dusty staircase, a cracked mirror reflecting a fleeting shadow. In one room, she found an old photo album. The faded pictures depicted a family that once called the mansion home. A smiling couple, their children playing in the gardens. But the last few photos were chillingly different. They showed the same family, gaunt and hollow-eyed, staring blankly into the camera, as if possessed by some unseen horror. Unnerved, Julia pressed on, drawn deeper into the mansion's darkness. She reached a door at the end of a corridor, the hinges groaning as she pushed it open. Inside, a cold breeze whispered through broken windows, stirring the dust in a dance of forgotten memories. Suddenly, she heard faint whispers, like voices carried on the wind. They spoke in hushed tones, growing louder with each step she took. Julia's heart raced as she followed the sound, leading her to a hidden staircase descending into darkness. Against her better judgment, she descended into the abyss, the whispers now swirling around her like a sinister choir. At the bottom, she found a small, forgotten cellar. There, in the dim light, she saw something that froze her blood. A circle of old, weathered dolls, their eyes staring emptily into eternity. As Julia raised her camera to capture the eerie scene, a sudden chill gripped her. The whispers grew louder, frantic and desperate. She turned to leave, but the door at the top of the stairs slammed shut with a deafening echo. Trapped in the cellar's suffocating embrace, Julia's camera flashed one last time, illuminating the dolls' lifeless faces. In that blinding light, she saw shadows move, whispering, reaching out with spectral hands. And as the echoes of her scream faded into the darkness, the old mansion claimed yet another soul, adding to its legacy of haunting, unspeakable horrors. Julia's heart pounded in her chest as she stared at the dolls, their eerie presence filling the cellar with an oppressive weight. The whispers intensified, swirling around her like a malevolent mist, chilling her to the bone. Desperation gripped her as she turned back to the door, only to find it stubbornly sealed shut. Panic surged through her veins, her mind racing for any means of escape. With trembling hands, she fumbled for her phone, hoping for a signal, but the cellar's thick walls rendered it useless. The dolls seemed to watch her every move, their unblinking eyes holding secrets from a time long forgotten. Julia's instincts screamed at her to run, but her legs felt as heavy as stone. She took a shaky step backward, her eyes darting around for any sign of another exit. Just then, a cold gust of wind swept through the cellar, extinguishing the flickering candlelight. Darkness enveloped Julia, swallowing her cries of fear. In the blackness, the whispers crescendoed into a cacophony of haunting voices, each one overlapping with the next in a sinister chorus. She stumbled forward, her fingers grazing the rough stone walls as she searched blindly for a way out. The air grew thick with a stale, oppressive odor, like decay and ancient sorrow intertwined. Suddenly, a faint glow caught her eye. Julia's heart leaped with hope as she followed it, feeling her way along until she stumbled upon a narrow staircase leading upwards. With renewed determination, she ascended, each step bringing her closer to the surface. As she reached the top, Julia pushed against the heavy door with all her strength. It creaked open reluctantly, revealing the moonlit grounds of the mansion. Gasping for breath, she stumbled out into the cool night air, feeling the weight of the cellar's presence fade behind her. But as Julia turned to look back at the mansion, she saw something that made her blood run cold. In one of the upper windows, a figure stood watching her, a spectral silhouette against the faint glow of the moon. Its eyes bore into hers with an intensity that froze her in place. Without a second thought, Julia sprinted across the overgrown lawn, not daring to look back again. She didn't stop running until she reached her car, where she collapsed into the driver's seat, her hands trembling uncontrollably. As she sped away from the mansion, the image of the ghostly figure burned into her mind. She couldn't shake the feeling that it had whispered something to her in that cellar. Something dark and incomprehensible. Julia never returned to the old mansion, but the memory of that night haunted her dreams for years to come. And though she never found answers to the mysteries hidden within its walls, she knew one thing for certain. The spirits of the past were not at rest, and the mansion held secrets that were better left undisturbed. Years passed since that fateful night at the old mansion. Julia tried to move on with her life, burying the memories of the haunting experience as deeply as she could. She focused on her career, throwing herself into photography assignments that took her far from the sleepy town where the mansion stood. Yet, no matter how far she traveled, the image of the ghostly figure and the chilling whispers in the cellar continued to haunt her. They lingered in the shadows of her mind, surfacing unexpectedly in moments of quiet reflection or restless sleep. One autumn day, while flipping through old photographs in her studio, Julia stumbled upon a series of pictures she had taken during her exploration of the mansion. Most were mundane shots of decaying furniture and cracked walls, but one photo caught her eye. A blurry image near the cellar's entrance, almost obscured by darkness. She zoomed in, her heart skipping a beat as she realized what she was seeing. In the dim light, the figure of a child stood at the bottom of the cellar stairs, staring up at her with wide, vacant eyes. Julia's breath caught in her throat, her hands trembling as she struggled to comprehend what she was seeing. The child's presence in the photo sent a chill down her spine. She remembered the stories locals whispered about the mansion. A tale of a family torn apart by tragedy, their youngest child lost in the depths of the house. Could this be the same child, trapped between worlds, seeking solace in the darkness? Driven by a mixture of fear and curiosity, Julia returned to the town under the guise of a documentary project on local folklore. She sought out the elderly residents who still remembered the mansion's dark past, hoping to uncover the truth behind the lingering spirits. One elderly woman, with gnarled hands and eyes clouded with age, recounted the tragic tale of the mansion's former inhabitants. She spoke of a child who had disappeared without a trace, believed to have fallen victim to the mansion's malevolent influence. According to the woman, the child's spirit was said to roam the corridors, forever seeking release from its lonely existence. With a heavy heart, Julia realized she couldn't ignore the spirits any longer. She returned to the mansion one last time, armed not with a camera but with a determination to help the lost soul find peace. Standing in the overgrown courtyard, Julia whispered a heartfelt plea into the stillness of the night. She spoke of forgiveness, of understanding, of a longing to bring closure to the restless spirits that dwelled within. To her surprise, a gentle breeze stirred the leaves around her, carrying with it a sense of acceptance and gratitude. The air seemed lighter, as if a weight had been lifted from the mansion's ancient stones. As Julia turned to leave, she glanced back at the mansion one final time. In the moonlight, she thought she saw a faint, childlike figure standing at an upper window, its form bathed in a soft glow. With a bittersweet smile, Julia walked away, knowing that she had finally laid to rest the ghosts of her past. The old mansion, once a place of fear and darkness, had become a testament to the power of compassion and redemption. And though the whispers of that night would always linger in her memories, Julia found solace in knowing that she had helped bring peace to the lost souls trapped within its walls. Julia's encounter with the spirits of the old mansion left an indelible mark on her soul. Though she had found closure for the lost child's spirit, her own curiosity and lingering questions about the mansion's dark history continued to gnaw at her. Months passed, and Julia found herself drawn back to the photographs she had taken that haunting night. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to uncover, more to understand about the tragic events that had unfolded within those walls. One rainy afternoon, while sorting through old research notes and newspaper clippings she had collected during her investigation, Julia stumbled upon a faded article dated decades ago. It recounted the mysterious disappearance of a local family who had once lived in the mansion. According to the article, the family, John and Margaret Carter and their two children, Thomas and Emily, had seemingly vanished without a trace. Authorities had searched the mansion and its grounds extensively but found no signs of foul play or forced entry. The case had remained unsolved, leaving a cloud of suspicion and fear hanging over the mansion ever since. Intrigued by this discovery, Julia delved deeper into the town's archives, uncovering more pieces of the puzzle. She pieced together fragments of local gossip and whispered rumors, slowly unraveling a tale of hidden secrets, jealousy, and ultimately, tragedy. It appeared that John Carter, a wealthy businessman, had fallen into financial ruin. Desperate to maintain his family's lavish lifestyle, he had become increasingly distant and volatile. Rumors suggested that he had grown obsessed with the idea of finding a hidden fortune rumored to be hidden within the mansion itself. As Julia continued her research, she discovered an old diary belonging to Margaret Carter, hidden in a forgotten drawer in the town's historical society. The diary entry spoke of Margaret's growing unease and fear for her children's safety, hinting at John's erratic behavior and his obsession with the mansion's secrets. One entry, dated just weeks before the family's disappearance, sent shivers down Julia's spine. Margaret described hearing strange noises in the night, whispers that seemed to come from the walls themselves, and shadows that moved when no one was there. Determined to uncover the truth, Julia revisited the mansion once more. Armed with newfound knowledge and a resolve to unravel the mystery, she ventured deeper into the decaying corridors and hidden passages that had once sheltered the Carter family. In a forgotten attic room, she stumbled upon a dusty old trunk tucked away beneath rotting floorboards. With trembling hands, she lifted the lid and gasped at what she found inside. A collection of letters, photographs, and a worn leather journal belonging to John Carter. The journal detailed John's descent into madness as he searched feverishly for the rumored fortune, convinced that it held the key to his family's salvation. His entries grew increasingly erratic, detailing encounters with shadowy figures and disembodied voices that urged him deeper into the mansion's dark heart. But it was the final entry that chilled Julia to the core. In a trembling scrawl, John confessed to a terrible deed committed in the grip of desperation. A deed that had unleashed a malevolent force trapped within the mansion's walls, condemning his family to a fate worse than death. With a heavy heart, Julia realized the truth. The mansion itself was cursed, its very foundations tainted by the sins of its former inhabitants. The spirits that haunted its halls were not merely lost souls seeking peace. They were manifestations of a tragic history that refused to be forgotten. As she left the mansion for the last time, Julia carried with her the weight of the Carter family's legacy. She knew that their story would forever be intertwined with the mansion's dark history, a cautionary tale of greed, obsession, and the devastating consequences of unearthing secrets better left buried. And though the whispers of the past would continue to echo in her memories, Julia found solace in knowing that she had uncovered the truth, bringing a measure of closure to the tormented souls who had once called the old mansion home. Months had passed since Julia's last visit to the haunted mansion. Despite her efforts to move on, the mysteries of the Carter family and their tragic fate continued to haunt her thoughts. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to uncover, more pieces of the puzzle waiting to be found. One night, as she lay awake in bed, images from her time at the mansion flickered through her mind like a ghostly film reel. The whispers, the shadows, the chilling revelations, all seemed to replay in vivid detail, urging her to return once more. Driven by an insatiable curiosity, Julia made a decision. She would return to the mansion, not as a mere observer or investigator, but as someone determined to confront the lingering spirits and uncover the full truth of what had happened all those years ago. Armed with her camera, a flashlight, and the old diary and journal she had unearthed, Julia ventured back to the mansion under the cover of night. The moon cast an eerie glow over the crumbling facade as she approached, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and anticipation. Inside, the mansion was as silent and foreboding as ever. Julia navigated the familiar corridors with a sense of purpose, guided by memories and the faint echo of spectral whispers. She retraced her steps to the attic where she had discovered the trunk, hoping to find more clues hidden within its depths. As she lifted the lid once more, the contents greeted her like long-lost friends, faded photographs of the Carter family, letters filled with heartfelt words and hidden sorrow, and the worn leather journal that chronicled John Carter's descent into madness. Julia pored over the documents with feverish intensity, piecing together the fragments of the family's life before tragedy struck. She discovered a series of letters exchanged between John and Margaret, revealing a love that had once been deep and true, now tainted by secrets and lies. But it was the journal entries that held the key to unlocking the mansion's darkest secrets. John's handwriting grew increasingly frantic and disjointed as he chronicled his obsession with the hidden fortune and the sinister forces that seemed to conspire against him. One entry, dated just days before the family's disappearance, spoke of a ritual, an attempt to appease the restless spirits that plagued the mansion. John described candles flickering in an unseen wind, shadows dancing on the walls, and a sense of dread that gripped his very soul. With trembling hands, Julia turned the pages further, desperate to uncover the truth behind the curse that had befallen the Carter family. She found mention of an old, tattered map tucked between the pages, an intricate drawing that hinted at hidden passages and forgotten chambers within the mansion's labyrinthine structure. Driven by a newfound determination, Julia set out to explore the mansion once more, following the map's cryptic instructions. She descended into the depths of the cellar, where the air grew thick with the weight of centuries-old secrets. Every step echoed with the ghosts of the past, urging her onward in her quest for answers. At last, she reached a hidden chamber concealed behind a crumbling wall, a chamber that had remained untouched for decades. Inside, she found relics of a bygone era, an ornate chest overflowing with treasures, ancient artifacts adorned with intricate carvings, and a faded portrait of a smiling family that bore little resemblance to the tragedy that had befallen them. But it was the final discovery that sent a shiver down Julia's spine. A hidden alcove containing a collection of journals, each one filled with confessions and revelations that painted a chilling portrait of the mansion's dark history. They spoke of rituals performed in desperation, of a curse awakened by greed, and of sacrifices made in the name of forbidden knowledge. As Julia read through the journals, she felt a presence in the chamber, a whisper of gratitude, of release, as if the spirits that had once tormented the mansion had found peace at last. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she realized the magnitude of what she had uncovered, the truth behind the Carter family's tragic fate and the curse that had bound them to the mansion for eternity. With the weight of history lifted from her shoulders, Julia emerged from the mansion's depths, carrying the journals and artifacts that bore witness to its haunted past. The sun rose on a new day, casting its warm light over the crumbling facade that had once been a place of fear and despair. As she walked away from the mansion for the final time, Julia knew that she had fulfilled her mission, to unravel the mysteries that had plagued the Carter family and to bring closure to the restless spirits that had lingered within its walls. And though the mansion would forever be marked by its dark history, Julia found solace in knowing that she had played a part in setting its ghosts free. The tale of Julia and the haunted mansion would become a legend whispered among locals, a testament to the power of perseverance, courage, and the unyielding quest for truth. As Julia emerged from the mansion, clutching the journals and artifacts that held the keys to its haunted past, she felt a profound sense of closure wash over her. The weight that had burdened her since the first whispers in the cellar now lifted, replaced by a deep, abiding peace. The town welcomed her back with a mixture of curiosity and reverence. Word had spread of her courageous exploration and discovery of the mansion's secrets, and she found herself surrounded by grateful townspeople eager to hear her account of what she had uncovered. Julia shared the story of the Carter family, their love, their tragedy, and the dark forces that had ensnared them. She spoke of the hidden chambers and forgotten rituals, of the curse that had plagued the mansion for generations, and of the spirits that had finally found release. Her photographs and documented findings became a local exhibit, drawing visitors from far and wide who were fascinated by the mansion's haunted history. Julia herself became somewhat of a local legend, a storyteller who had dared to confront the past and bring light to its darkest corners. But for Julia, the true reward lay in the peace she had brought to the spirits of the Carter family. Their restless souls, trapped for so long within the mansion's walls, had finally found solace and forgiveness. She knew their story would endure, a cautionary tale of greed, obsession, and the consequences of tampering with forces beyond mortal comprehension. As time passed, Julia continued her career as a photographer, traveling the world and capturing moments of beauty and wonder. Yet, she never forgot the lessons learned within the old mansion's halls. The importance of empathy, the power of perseverance, and the healing that comes with confronting the past. Years later, when she returned to the town for an anniversary celebration of her discovery, Julia found the mansion transformed. No longer a place of fear and shadows, it had become a symbol of resilience and redemption. The grounds were meticulously maintained, and the mansion itself had been restored to its former glory, now serving as a museum dedicated to local history and folklore. In a quiet moment alone in the museum's garden, Julia reflected on her journey. From fear and uncertainty to understanding and acceptance, she felt a gentle breeze stir the leaves around her, as if the spirits of the Carter family were whispering their gratitude one last time. With a smile on her face and a heart at peace, Julia turned to leave, knowing that her own story had become intertwined with that of the haunted mansion. And though she would always carry the memories of that fateful exploration, she also carried with her the knowledge that some mysteries are meant to be solved, some curses meant to be broken, and some spirits meant to find their way home. And so, the tale of Julia and the haunted mansion came to a close, a testament to the enduring power of courage, compassion, and the unyielding pursuit of truth in the face of darkness.